And the little subheading under fractions is drawing pictures. And let me just, this is very simple, so I'm just going to give you a little thing there. Draw a rectangle comma, and shade 1/3 of it. That's the directions. Now let me give you some important advice here. Write this in big words under your notes there. Use the squares on your homework paper. And we are going to triple exclamation point. That's because that's a point of emphasis, people. I go to all that trouble to make your homework paper so that it makes it easy for you to do this. So if they ask you to draw a rectangle, it's not just you just drawing it wherever you feel like it. Let me give you the for example here. On your homework paper, like whatever lesson it is, they're cut into these nice little boxes. And each one of these nice little boxes is cut into really small sort of squares. And these are drawn nice and lightly so you can just see the squares there. If it asks you to draw a rectangle and shade 1/3 of it, use these lines that are here. You don't necessarily have to use a ruler, although if you really wanted to please the teacher, you would. Draw your rectangle using those squares. Now, logically, Zach Roth, how big would you want to make your rectangle if you're trying to cut it into thirds? What would be, I mean, you could make any rectangle you want. You get to pick, but what logically, how big, what's an easy thing to cut into thirds? Like, is it easy to cut an apple into thirds? No, because they're not marked out. Is it easy to cut $5 into thirds? No. Is it easy to cut $3 into thirds? Yes, because a third of $3 is $1. So, logically, when I draw my rectangle, how wide would I probably want to make it? Aaron? 3 squares wide because it's easy to cut 3 squares. You can make it 6 squares wide because it's easy to cut 6 into thirds too, because 6 divided by 3 is 2. Thank you very much. So here's my rectangle paper. I'm just going to do this. Oh, look. I'm going to go here. I'm going to make it 3 wide. And then when I cut it into thirds, look. Oh, what a beautiful third that is. And then shade a third of it. There it is. There's 1/3. It's a masterpiece. You can call me Picasso if you like. That would be it. Right. Circles, if it asks you to draw a circle, go ahead and draw a circle. But circles are not easy to cut into anything but what? Circles are easy to cut into what pieces? If you have a circle, it's easy to cut circles into halves, because you just cut it in half. It's easy to cut circles into fourths, because you take half this way and take half that way. It's easy to cut circles into eighths, because then you take each of your fourths and cut it into halves, and those are eighths. It's not easy to cut a circle into thirds, because then you kind of got to, I mean, you can do it, then you kind of got to go like this and then go, well, I can do it because I've been doing this a long time, that's not so bad. It's not easy to cut circles into fifths. How would you do that? Well, it kind of looks like this and like this and like this. And, okay, they don't work out nicely. Circles are easy to cut into halves, they're easy to cut in quarters, they're cut in eighths, 16ths, but they're not easy to cut in some of those other things. Oh, by the way, going back to our little shape over here, this was not the only way I could have shaded this. How else could I shade that? I don't know why I would want to, but I could have drawn that same rectangle. What other way could I cut that into thirds? Or?
The other side.
Which means what?
When
Instead of vertical, I could go horizontal. Yeah, you could cut into thirds this way. Again, you wouldn't be using your squares like you should, but that is also a third of it. Another way I could have shaded a third of that is I could have what? If I had 6 squares cut like this, I could shade this one, and this one, and this one. No, wait, that's not a third. Sorry, I could have shaded this and this one, because 2 out of the 6 would be shaded for a third. You could do it all sorts of ways. How about another one? There's got to be a good one here. How about this one? Draw a rectangle and shade. Draw a square and shade 3/4 of it. Draw a square and shade 3/4 of it. Same thing would be true on your homework paper. You've got all of these beautiful squares on your paper. How big should you make your square? First of all, it's a square, so that means all the sides should be equal. What would you say would be the logical way to draw your square, Sophia? 4 squares. How many squares, what would be the dimensions of that square? How big is each side? 4? Would you go 4 by 4, that square? You could. But you might want to do what? Probably an easy way to go would be do a 2 by 2 square, right? There's my square. If I was shading 3/4 of it, what would that look like? How many different ways could I shade 3/4 of that? Madison, one way I could shade it would be?
One of the corners and then go left, no, right and down.
There would be one way. Another way I could shade it would be? Lauren?
The left top over the bottom, left corner, bottom.
Yeah, that's another way I could shade it. That would still be 3/4. Another way I could shade it, I could shade this, this, and this. How many different ways could I shade it? Is there any other ones? There's probably a couple more. But you can shade it however you want, as long as you get 3 out of the 4 pieces shaded. And that. Oh, you know what? What's another way? If you're thinking outside the box, what would be another way you could shade that box? Let me draw another one over here. We were all being conformist there. Another way to shade 3/4 of a box might be, if you're thinking outside the lines, pardon the pun, you could cut your box, your square, with diagonals like this, and then shade 3 of those 4. 1, 2, 3. You could have, like we did before, take your box, and instead of cutting it into those 4 pieces, I could cut it like this. There are 4 pieces, and I could shade 3 of them. I could take my box and cut it into pieces like this, and shade 3 out of 4 of them. As long as you cut your box into 3 equal pieces, it doesn't matter what those, or 4 equal pieces, it doesn't matter what those pieces look like. You can shade them there. You could have, how about this? You could have taken your box and cut it, each one of these into diagonals like this, and still shaded 3 out of 4 pieces. I don't know how you do it. That's